Well, aloha, ladies and gentlemen. If there are indeed any ladies and gentlemen here, if you are here, why? It's Christmas. Thank you for showing up. Yeah, we got to, tomorrow is Eve, and the next day is day. So this was a taped show, as WWE did a lot of taped shows, all across the from the main roster to below, just to allow a little more time off for their employees, which was pretty cool. And this show was indeed taped, which kind of put a damper on whatever could have been um, the payoff to the last match, because that Chelsea Green's not losing her, probably not losing that title on an NXT show, period, but definitely not losing it in a show that is taped a week before, when all of that would spill out and we'd all know what was happening afterward. Would seem like that was a great way to split up Sol Ruka and Zarya, but I no longer am completely. I don't know that it's going to happen at all.
Yep.
Um, so it just seems like either they got cold feet, or I don't know what they're doing. Is Corbin opening a present over there? Is that what I'm hearing on your? I just hear a bunch of stuff happening.
It's a little fidget. I'll put it down. It makes a lot of noise. Yeah.
It sure does.
Yeah. Right.
I literally thought that you were smiling at your dog opening a present.
No, not at all.
Because I don't know what that room actually looks like when you don't have the filters. Okay, so sorry about whatever fidgeting. I am denying you.
No,
Anyway,
that's totally fine.
I am Kelly Wells, and you can find me in places. Yeah, at this point, if you've wanted to find me somewhere, you've found me. Nate.
Yeah, Nate Lindberg. I'm the guy with the 3D printed fidget toy. Did you throw to me just for an intro or for a
I
question? I
realized
don't.
I threw to you to say hey, and I'm just so off my. Here's what happened today. I had a crazy busy day, um, at work, because that is what happens when you work retail and it's almost time, especially in a place like mine that is just a building of pure fun. Um, I was out sick for multiple days. I'm still fighting it, obviously, working on a cough drop as we speak. but but it threw off my internal clock. So when I got home late because I had to stay for a deal that I was doing, I was not thinking of this at all. I would not have watched NXT. And my wife said, "Are you doing the show tonight?" And I was like, "Why? What day is it?" She's like, "Well, Tuesday, the day you always do a show." And I just lost my mind. I got really pissed off that I had made plans for the night, a night where I always do the same thing. Um, but anyway, it was this. Um,
I can attest to that.
so yeah,
I got an angry rant text. Yeah.
yeah, and then I was like, and in 15 minutes in, I was like, or 40 minutes in, whatever it was, I was like, it's a pretty good show. So I'm dealing all right. So our main event was Sol Ruka versus Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green wins with the Unpretty Her, when Alba Fire got involved, because much was going on outside the ring. Ethan Page was written out, but this was part of the distraction, which allowed Alba Fire to get involved. Um, and Sean Plickta, he hasn't been here for a minute. What up, guys? Didn't get to see a ton, but I did really like the main event. Chelsea had a good performance tonight. Fun match. I don't think she had an overly good performance, but she was really great at all the things that make her good at what she does. Her character work and her silliness were on full display, and she did both of those things great. She took a really crappy bump when she got dumped to the outside, because she's always bad at that. But the match was just, with Chelsea, the wrestling is always going to be like a distant second to whatever else she brings to the table, which is a lot. But she wins this one in 10:32. These match times are kind of iffy because this is a taped show, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, Chelsea wins. And then they send them home happy by having Zarya take out, I think just Chelsea, and then Soul ended up hitting the Soul Snatcher on both Chelsea and Alba, because you can't bring Soul out there and not have her hit the move. It's a rule. So even if she didn't get to hit the match, she hit it afterwards. So I thought this was adequate on a show of mostly adequate wrestling. But did what it was supposed to do on a taped show where none of us were in any doubt about what was going to happen. But yeah, it was fun in the ways that that a holiday show should be fun, Nate.
Yeah, absolutely. Say hey to Sean, CJ, Ryan in the chat so far. But yeah, it was a fun show. I was there last year for the double taping of NXT during the holidays, and this kind of reminded me of the holiday show from last year. I don't know if you remember. I don't remember the entire card, but I do remember it was, the very kind of last sequence involved the D'Angelo family and Santa Claus, and Santa Claus turned out to be Ridge Holland, and then they like speared him or beat him down at the end of the ring, end of the match or whatever. One of those send the fans home happy at the end of the show. But I think this kind of this worked. I mean, like you said, I was thinking about this during the match. Sol Ruka and Zarya, we've talked so much about them breaking up. Will they, won't they? She's wearing black. Oh no, she's wearing black this week. What things we thought that, might foreshadow a breakup. I don't know if we were onto something. I mean, or I don't know if they, like you said, they got cold feet or changed plans last minute or anything like that. But it sure does feel, I don't know. They spent so much time on that that breakup angle. Like it was kind of an unsatisfying finish. Like they were like, oh well, hey, sorry, we're good now, and that's kind of it. So I'm curious to see if they come back to it. Do you think? I was thinking. This just kind of hit me when Soul got injured and had to drop the title, because that was, an actual thing, real life. Do you think maybe they got the cold feet then and ended up backtracking?
Maybe, or maybe they realized the story only works if Soul turns, but we don't want to turn Soul,
Yeah,
and it doesn't work if Zarya turns. Although, I mean, it would have been a good villain story in the case that she was justified. She was right, and you could see how she thought she was right, even if she went about it the wrong way, which is villain writing 101. So, and Sean saying,
yeah,
the same stuff that most people have been saying on our show. I think Zarya has to be the
yeah.
one to turn heel if it happens, which makes perfect sense, but that's not the way they told this story. Zarya is the more ready-made heel, but Soul was kind of a butthole throughout this story, and was the problem throughout this story. So that's why it's just been weird. Real legend Ryan Solorio says, don't think you saw my earlier message. I actually did. I was getting there. But Zarya gave Sol Ruka a dirty look backstage during Sol's interview. And yeah, they definitely, that definitely happened. That dirty look, but then all was good after just a second. So I don't know, if I didn't know wrestling better, I would say that they just were doing a little parabola and they're just going the other way. I mean, we thought they were doing it with Axiom and Fraser for a long time, and then they just
That's a
had
good
them
point.
fight like there would be a problem in the ring every week that could have cost them the championship, and then they just never had that cost them the championship. So I'm sorry, this is going to be really hard to fight, but yeah, it was. So I don't know. It just seems like they're not doing it.
Yeah.
Steve Repshire asked if they taped this Monday, the day before the live show, because he thought he had read that. I guess anything's possible, but I would say probably not, because this was a follow-up of they had a heavy follow-up on Thea Hale's championship. win, which was not supposed to happen. So, and then somebody said they taped today and next week's last Wednesday, Ryan Solorio said. So,
That would
yeah.
make sense because one of the shots showed Thea Hale with the title walking through the parking lot, and it was daytime, which they wouldn't have been able to do on like afterwards on Tuesday. So that makes sense. It must have been Wednesday.
Yeah. So, and then Steve adds to the segment, Soul said that the lowest point was when she lost both titles without being actually involved in either one. Yes, that's when Zarya shot her the look. But it didn't get as serious as it's been getting. But again, this is a tape show. They're not splitting up a team that's been together for 2 years or whatever it is on a tape show. So, so it was never going to happen tonight. Saturday night's main event maybe could have worked, but that's not where that happened either. So, yeah, that was. I don't know. It just seems like they've backed off on it. And in the recap, I also wrote this might actually be as simple as they've decided to fast track Soul to the main roster. I mean, they were she's dipped more than a couple toes in the main roster already. They've got her working with main roster talent a lot, including on this show. They had her, of course, she was on Saturday night's main event. And so she's getting a lot of opportunities to tangle with them. So she's going to be in the Royal Rumble regardless. Like whether or not it's a call up, she's going to be in the Royal Rumble. They want that spot. She's going to do something cool, and maybe get an elimination or two. If she has enough eliminations, and I'm saying at least 3, then I'm going to assume that it's a call up. Or if she's in the ring for a long time, I'm going to assume it's a call up. And Sol Ruca, I think, is the kind of worker that they could ask to go out there for 45 minutes and she'd be up for it. Like, I think that Ruca is well suited to do that. We've never seen her be asked to do exactly that. But I think that would not be a tall order for the kind of wrestler that she is. Okay. Anything else on Ruca and or Zarya before we move on?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Let's go to a bonkers match. Shiloh Hill and Skylar Ray versus Stax and Ariana Grace. This was so goofy, and it was my favorite thing on the show. It was so dopey. They didn't exactly say what it was going to be, but it was called a Christmas Chaos mixed tag team match. Multiple spots where Stax and Ariana distracted themselves by kissing, which is easy to do and have it look real when it's a real life couple. So hopefully they stay together, especially pulling for Stax, because how awesome is it that you get to be with Ariana Grace? But yeah, these.
I thought you were going to say how awesome would it be to have Santino be your father-in-law?
Oh, there's going to be a lot of laughs at the Christmas table. That is for sure. That is a funny group. And this match, both sides had one very, very funny person on them. Grace is just hilarious. Shiloh Hill's very funny. Stax knows what he's doing. And Skylar Ray she's an early work in progress. I can see what they like about her, even though we only saw, I mean, this is a really weird way to debut somebody. In this match and on a tape show, but why the heck not? Frog Splash, she does get the pin, Skylar Ray does, on Ariana Grace, because what Ariana Grace does is lose. I loved the gear that the heels were wearing. I thought it was just so obnoxious. And I just loved the spots, the stupid weapons they used. Booker threatening them not to mess with the cookies on the table, which of course they messed with the cookies on the table because you gotta. And all of that stuff. Ryan Solorio adds a little bit of this. Ariana turned on Santino on NXT last week, So she's officially a heel on both brands now.
On TNA last week. I think that's a typo.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, I watched the show and I did not
Yeah, it
remember
was
that
it
happening.
happened it happened after the Team TNA versus Team NXT cage match.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, a heel, but I dare say in the Chelsea Green mold of being too funny and too likable to be a heel. But what do you do with somebody when their shtick is best played for like bad guys who get their comeuppance all the time? So I don't know. What are you going to do? I loved this, and I should probably just crawl in the hole for saying that. But this was so much fun, and we are getting agreement in the chat, so maybe I'm okay.
Oh no, you're good. You're totally good. Like this I think was this had the potential to be a disaster. I mean, you have two brand new wrestlers that they're just kind of getting their feet wet in the business. Granted, Ariana and Stax, it's even though they're still in developmental and all of that. I mean, that they're kind of the, I guess, more veteran talent in this case. They could lead them through what they needed to. It had the potential to be a disaster, especially for a gimmick match and all of that. But it worked. Shiloh Hill, when we keep saying it, he's got that charisma, and then kind of the in-ring uh, capability, I guess. I don't know if it's not the word I'm looking for, but you know what I mean, the ring skills, to back it up. Uh, what was her? Skylar Ray. I can't even. I couldn't remember her name. Like I said, I can see what you're saying. There is something there, but she's got a super generic, like outfit and things like that. I mean, I figure once she
And
kind of
name. Skylar
and they
Ray is like the most indie generic name that there is. Like, I'm
oh,
surprised
100%.
that's what they're going with.
Uh, you know, and the other, actually, I'll talk about that when we get there. 'Cause not has nothing to do with this. I was gonna say Eli. What's his name? It was Eli Drake. Not Eli
Eli
Drake.
Knight.
Eli Knight. Um, that just feels weird because Eli Drake, LA Knight. Yeah. But anyway, that's for another segment. Um, yeah, Ariana Grace turning. I'm surprised they didn't bring that up a little bit more on NXT tonight. That Ariana and Stax turned on Santino at the end of I think it was Impact. I think it was an Impact show. I didn't see it. I saw the YouTube highlights and stuff, but I'm surprised they didn't bring it up. They brought commentary brought it up a little bit. I remember Vic dropping one little line about it on during the match itself, but they didn't like make a big deal about it. So I feel like they might be more heel on TNA than NXT, even though they still are leaning that way. But I don't know, we'll see because they kind of live in their own. I feel like they're kind of living in their own separate universe. They don't always bring up a lot of the TNA angles on NXT TV. They are with on NXT, or sorry, on TNA. They do kind of bring them up a little bit, but it's still more so than NXT will bring up the angles. So anyway, I feel like I'm rambling, but it wasn't a bad match. I really do like what they're doing with Stax and Ariana. And oh my God, she was so over the top with that holding the tooth. I and I
I
think
was
in
getting
any
ready to say it. Yep.
and I
Hmm.
think in any other match, it probably would have drove me a little nuts. But in this context, in this kind of crazy, weird Christmas chaos match, I think it worked. I was laughing. I was laughing. It definitely worked. These guys, they've got something with Ariana and Stax for sure.
And there's no two better people than Shiloh Hill and Ariana Grace for that spot. Granted, not
Oh,
just anybody is
100%.
missing that tooth, but I mean, Shiloh is just the kind of guy who would play that for laughs. And Ariana losing her mind and like literally not even being able to function for a while is something that can't happen to just anybody. But the daughter of Santino is going to be up for the challenge of that of portraying that scene. So yeah, a lot of love for Ariana. So yeah, very very fun stuff there. Um, your opener tonight was Lola Vice versus Izzy Dame. This was really the only normal match on this because we've talked about one mega comedy match, one partial comedy match, because Chelsea's always kind of doing a little bit of yuck yuck. And the other two are speed matches. So this is as close to a straightforward match as they had. Lola Vice versus Izzy Dame. They're both really feuding with other people, so this was just kind of a way to forward both of those. Lola wins. It doesn't matter because like it was a distraction thing. It was more about what's next for both of them. Tatum Paxley showed up with a chainsaw, which on most weeks would be the most unconventional weapon somebody used, but this week did have candy cane kendo sticks. So chainsaw was a distant second at best for weapons. Lola Vice beats Izzy Dame with the back fist after Tatum got involved. But then Kalani Jordan shows up in street clothes and destroys Lola Vice to further the thing they're doing. I know I said Christmas Chaos was the best thing on the show, but Kalani in street clothes was pretty all right. 9 minutes and 57 seconds. Lola Vice, your winner in the opener, Nate.
I am I'm so proud of Izzy Dame. Like we keep talking about, she's gone from just being in the background to actually, having more of a, story and all of that. Um, obviously she lost here tonight, but I just love the character progression that we've seen out of her. Tatum. That's what I wanted to talk about. Tatum and the chainsaw. I it was it was weird. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I love it or I hate it. I I think maybe if, again, like you said, any other week it might have been a little tacky and over the top, but this week it might have worked. At least the makeup artist, or not makeup artist, costume designer or something for Josh Briggs was probably using the same type of smoke because the thing's smoking or whatever for visual effect. But a little weird, little over the top. Like, what would Tatum have done if she caught up? Would we have seen a chainsaw massacre like on TV?
I used to ask those questions all the time. Like, if they had gotten to her, we'd be watching a murder. And I went to a TLC where there was a murder because the heels dumped Braun Strowman into, who was also a heel at the beginning of the match, into a trash, like a trash thing that like compacted on him, and we chanted
Oh
that was
yeah.
murder. That was the proudest I've ever been of my city during a wrestling show. And Cesaro, as we were chanting that was murder, he just goes like he's just like, what are you gonna do? He just played along with it. Yeah, it's on a very special episode like this that's just a tape diversion. If you miss this one, it doesn't really matter. Maybe this is the kind of week where you do this, but I think it also it serves a purpose because Tatum is descending into madness. Like, she should be this angry, and we know that her character is being shown as somebody with real mental instability. So they maybe get away with it with
Yeah.
her, but it's just the kind of thing that's not done that often anymore. So it really stands out.
It feels it just feels so Terry Funk. I don't know.
Right. And I
I love it.
mean, very, very easy to make that connection because he's the one carrying it. And I was going to say it feels a little attitudey without the
Oh yeah.
total trashiness. Um, but some of that stuff can be brought back and be silly, and it can be okay. But the big question is, where do you draw the line? Because you can only do so much silliness beforehand. So,
I guess a taped holiday show is the way, like, place to do it.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
Ryan Solorio says, plus it's almost Christmas, not Halloween, lol. Yes, fair, but there's a lot of pretty decent horror movies made surrounding Christmas. So, I mean, maybe get away with it.
Yeah.
Let's go to Thea Hale. So Thea Hale came out and made what I thought was a really good mission statement, like just kind of a hype thing. She's going to lose this back because she was never supposed to win it, I think. But she was really quite good in doing a babyface, getting real hyped about their first championship thing. And then Blake Monroe was dynamite, coming out as just like a broken, shattered shell of herself, just begging for her championship match. Just give it to me. And they did make a match for New Year's Evil. And then later on, Blake Monroe ran into the Vanity Project. The first time the Vanity Project showed up in a pretty funny scene where they all had gifts for her, and she sent them off because Ricky Smokes got annoying and said, but what if Thea Hale wins? But then she called him back because she wanted to take her present, which she didn't open. Doesn't matter what was in it. But and then as they walked off, one of them said, hey, do you think she saw my abs? And she kind of scoffed, but I think she was also just like, that's a funny line, and maybe fighting off something because they cut right away. But
I think it was Smokes. Like literally, he finished his line and then turned and said that. I think it was Smokes that
I
said
think
it.
maybe it was Smokes too, but I actually wasn't looking because I thought it was all done. Yeah, Smokes showed his dopey side in both scenes, and it was really fun. So yeah, so that was their first scene, and I just thought all the stuff they did with Thea and Blake was really good. I saw these two wrestle live. It was the only championship match of the night, and of course Blake won it because she was champion, and it was a house show. But and that was a month or two ago, and I thought these two would make sense as TV opponents, and now they're doing kind of a long form thing, maybe longer form than they meant to, but maybe this was always going to be the match here anyway, but it was just going to be a second match. But yeah, I really dug that. And then since the Vanity Project are on the table, they also showed up with OTM, and but they were really showing up because when one babe doesn't want your gifts, you give it to another babe. That babe would be Kelly Kincaid, and they said think of it not as regifting, but as a free upgrade. And OTM got in their faces and like, you ever interrupt us again, there's going to be trouble. You're going to pay. And Ricky Smokes got silly in this one. Said, "Hey, would you accept a gift?" And it's just we don't know what's in there, but we know it was meant for Blake Monroe. So whatever it is would not fit for Bronco Nima. And they said you're going to pay in pain. So looks like these guys will probably tangle soon. But most of what this showed me is Vanity Project is very, very close. So they used to have 5 members on Evolve. The other 2 were never shown on NXT TV. I don't think they were ever shown. They never spoke.
They never were.
They have both since been released, and so this is Vanity Project, probably in its final form. But yeah, anyway, fun stuff here. So Thea Hale, Blake Monroe, and Vanity Project.
Okay, I'm gonna start with Ricky Smokes because I'm thinking about it. Like I said, Ricky Smokes, he's local to my area. I've seen him wrestle probably at least a dozen times or so. On the indie scene. One of the characters, and the thing is, I've never really seen him on the mic for the most part because the character that he was playing was a character by the name of Anju in this promotion called Rad Pro Wrestling, which you go back to like the 90s, and they pretend that you're in the 90s, so everything has kind of just a weird like comic book retro vibe to it. But his character was Anju, and he was like cult leader. No, he wasn't a cult leader, but he was in a cult, mind controlled, never really spoke. Really good in that role, but he ended up kind of breaking free of that in the story. And anyway, really good in that role, but I never got to really hear him speak outside of kind of this weird, stoic, like sci-fi-esque type tone, I guess is the best way I can describe it off the top of my head. So kind of cool to hear hear like what he can actually bring to the table there. And it's a stark comparison to what he was doing, at least in what I saw of him on the Indies. Um, what else? Oh, Blake Monroe, Thea Hale. Like you said, I'm really hoping. I don't know. I think you're right that this is going to be a really short-lived title reign for Thea Hale. It wasn't meant to happen. Um, but man, I kind of really hope she gets a decent title run out of this. Like you said, Blake Monroe really good in playing that desperate like ex-champion that just wants the title back. Um, that worked, and I'm wondering like if they could play off of that desperation where she doesn't wind up winning at New Year's Evil. Thea Hale holds on to it for a little bit longer. Somehow she being Blake Monroe, weasels her way back into getting a title shot, and 2 or 3 months or something like that. I don't know, but I think Thea deserves to have a little run. I hope. Um, but did we actually talk about what happened last week? 'Cause I know the last I was reading was when Thea went over the top and hit her um, with that, I think it was that senton splash last week. It knocked the wind out of her, out of Blake Monroe, and she just couldn't get her arm up in time. And
I don't know anything more than what I did last week. I just know that sources that would know said that the finish was not going to be the finish.
yeah,
So
yeah, that's what I was reading. At least over the last couple days was she had the wind knocked out of her and just physically couldn't get her arm up in time. And the ref was actually praised backstage for calling it as it was rather than pretending that she didn't get the arm up. Because we were both a little harsh on the ref last week, so gotta whatever.
yeah,
But
all right. That's
so
our official retraction.
yes,
Apparently, um, Sean. Yeah, and they even had somebody say on screen. They took a baby face, Jordan Grace, said, "I reviewed the footage, and the ref did his job. He did it right." So I was like, okay, they're telling us that they don't think that anything was wrong.
yep.
So who are we to say that the ref screwed up? Sean Plicht says, "How do you guys think that Blake has done overall in NXT as a wrestler and a character?" I thought she got off to a rocky at best start. I thought she was okay, but I thought that the hype was pretty significantly overblown. But this stuff recently, and especially now, this broken version of her, who's all sad because and just kind of pathetic because she lost this. She's out there still trying to look hot and glamorous, but also kind of haggard because she's losing her mind. And I thought she pulled off both parts of that look just perfectly tonight.
Yep.
I think she is just jumping by leaps and bounds and is better all the time. So I didn't see much of what she did in AEW, but I just thought all the hype about her was. I was like, and that's it. But I've just liked everything she's done for quite a few weeks now, really well. And the weird duality scene they did with her, where she was one part hot chick and one part like stone cold killer. I just thought that was those were fun scenes, very very gimmicky, but fun scenes. And I thought that both of those things were what they were. So, but yeah, I think that she is making of NXT what you are supposed to make of it, to the point where losing the championship here could be a blessing, and they could just maybe move her sooner than later because
So
there's plenty of women to fill those spots. The women's quietly, the women's division has gotten to be pretty dense. So it's looking pretty good.
So you said that this could be a blessing for her losing the title, and that's what I was going to say, is this could be a blessing in disguise for her, where we already have seen those kind of highs and lows of her emotional range, of that character's emotional range. We're now seeing a third kind of extreme emotion here, and that sadness and that desperation. Although we had some of that desperation come out when we saw that kind of darker side of Blake Monroe. What was it? A few months ago, whatever it was. So I think now that they've shown that she has those. Uh, I don't. I'm trying to figure out what the best way of wording that is. Um, but I guess those emotional ranges that kind of go to those extremes, um, they can always come back to that with different emotions, extreme happiness, anger, and kind of play off of that. So I think this could be a really good thing for her at the end of the day. Um, I'm just curious to see if they keep the belt off of her for a little while, and like we said, let Thea run with it for a little bit, because I don't think the Blake Monroe character really needs it. She can. Well, I take that back. I don't think she necessarily needs it, but I think it could still benefit her to be champion. Um, kind of in a almost Ethan Page type of a way, where she's just annoying about it. She's defending it and whatever, but she has it and it's annoying. Um, so yeah, whatever. If she gets it back, she gets it back. But I'm kind of curious to see how they play this out with the North American title.
All right. Why not the speed matches? Eli Knight versus Tavian Heights. Eli got almost all of the offense here because he kept reversing Heights' much more powerful maneuvers into fighting quick and often, striking quick and often. This actually only went 201, which is short even for a speed match, but Heights caught him with a belly to belly and finished him off. I thought Eli was pretty good here, and I was in disbelief at the speed of that snap moonsault. I don't know what else to call it but a snap moonsault. I didn't know a snap moonsault existed, but I know it now. So he ticks boxes that a lot of guys tick in NXT of late. He's another fast young dude with a ton of energy. So what's that hook going to be that sets him apart? I don't know yet, but a snap moonsault is a good start. Andre Chase does the job to Lexus King. They work in Andre Chase's face mask to his disadvantage. King attacks that and then hits the coronation to finish this one in 2:46. Sean Plickta says those matches are way too quick. LOL. I don't mind a couple of sub 3-minute matches on a show, but I am the recapper, and that makes for a very easy recap. So I might be somewhat biased there, but I would not turn down a buffer to 5 minutes. So that would be fine. We've talked about this a lot, and people have talked about then why doesn't all matches end in 3 minutes? They end in 3 minutes in a speed thing because they know they have to beat it in that amount of time, so they take risks they wouldn't otherwise take. That is what I think is the very, very easy way to promote these. But all that said, there should be more draws. Or it wouldn't bother me if there was no division at all and the Heritage Cup came back because it is 11 billion times cooler. Anyway, King over Chase, Heights over Knight, and we get King versus Knight in the or King versus Heights in the finals next week to face Jasper Troy, who is Sir not appearing in this film because that guy doesn't get any screen time. So there you go.
Who is the reigning Heritage Cup champion right now?
Stacks.
Yeah, all right. I was curious to see if you'd be able to pull it off out of the top of your head because I wasn't able to. I had to look it up.
But I would rather carry Ariana around than the Heritage Cup too. So I mean, I
Yeah, all right.
understand it. So
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
so there you go.
Um, speed. Yeah, I completely, I don't know. I've been very vocal about the speed division being in NXT. I'm not a huge fan of it. If it's going to be here, whatever. I'm trying to make the best of it, but it's not my favorite. I see what they're going for, and I understand I kind of get the argument for and against it, but I'm not I'm not I'm not really a fan of what the whole division really is. So I'd be fine if it went away, but it's not, and we're here. Lexus King, Andre Chase. I'm I'm glad to see Lexus King finally get a win. I doubt he's going to go any further in this tournament. Maybe not. Maybe they'll put the title on him and try to elevate him a little bit. But historically, he's been kind of known to maybe get a win or two, but never be able to win the big match, kind of win when it counts. Um, and Andre Chase, kind of, I don't want to say perennial jobber, but kind of, I guess. Um, in NXT, and not a whole lot more to say about this. Lexus King's been hanging out in TNA for a little while, doing some stuff in Evolve, so kind of been off TV for a little bit. So kind of curious to see if maybe he shows up a bit more on NXT TV, but that's all I get to say, really.
Yeah, and Andre was there was really some injury. They framed it as an injury in training with Chase U, but there was some sort of injury that was keeping him out. Um, okay, Ava was in the ring with a bunch of very, very fakey, I would say fakier than usual security guards. And the security guys on wrestling always come off as the most fakey thing on the show. And I thought they were in just an extra, just in another level today, trying to keep the guys apart. Anyway, Javon Evans and Ricky Saints had a scene. Javon really wanted to pop him. He had a he had a great line about what he was going to do to him. But whatever, I don't remember it. And then he went at Saints about, hey, I was on Raw and SmackDown, which hey, you haven't been yet. And then I was invited to be on John Cena's retirement show, which and you weren't there. So I thought he did a really good job of getting into Saints' head. I don't think Saints has to win this feud at all. I think Saints is probably another one who probably is earmarked for the main roster relatively soon. Easy to get that championship off him so they can do that. And this heel thing is finding his final form, which I think is a heel thing. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, Javon and Saints. I thought that for a show that was disposable and was taped, I thought that this, as well as, might as well bring it up now, as the Kelly Kincaid sitting between Leon Slater and Obafemi doing Obafemi things, saying your sob story doesn't matter when I go in and end your story. Um, and Leon Slater really, really talking tough about how wrestling didn't seem so mad when it was all that I ever wanted to be. Um, but I thought that was really good stuff too. So on both the hype for Slater Femi and the hype for Evans and Saints.
I think heel is going to be the final form for Ricky Saints as well. I was never sold on a face Ricky Saints, and I think, and I've said it before, I think that's why I personally didn't buy him as a credible NXT champion. Um, I think if maybe he was, and maybe this was all by design, right? They frame him as, as an NXT champion, as a face, but they kind of purposely made it so he didn't feel as important as maybe some of the other champions in the NXT bubble. Um, and then they turn him heel, make him feel much more important next time he wins the NXT championship, and kind of give maybe build a blueprint for what the Ricky Saints, the heel Ricky Saints, is going to look like on the main roster. I think that's probably where they're going. It just it makes too much sense. Makes too much sense to not have him as a heel. He's too good as that um, snarky heel. So I dig it. I definitely dig it. Um, what was the other? The Obafemi and Javon Evans.
Leon Slater.
Uh, Leon Slater. That's right. That's right. Javon Evans was the other thing. Um, it was fine. Like how, how else are you really going to book a face versus face? And I guess Oba. I'm gonna say Oba's a face. I mean, he does his own thing, and sometimes it's a bit anti-hero, so whatever. Maybe you can boo him in those moments, but I still think he's being positioned as a face. So you've got two faces. You kind of book yourself into a little bit of a corner. How are you gonna there's got to be at least some sort of a sign of respect between the two, and that's how they ended the segment. So I think it worked. Leon, he was able to. Obviously, he's the underdog, and I feel like verbally he was able to kind of keep up with Obafemi. He you still kind of think, dude, or at least I was thinking, like, dude, you're gonna have a really rough night that night, but I think he's got that heart. I think heart's the word I'm looking for. Where you really want to get behind him, you really want to root for him.
Sean Plickta said Evans had a very good promo other than trying to come at Ricky every 2 seconds. Faces should try to do the right thing, even though Ricky is trying to bait him and he wasn't good at it tonight. I would agree in theory, but Evans, as we know, is 22. And if you, no matter how good a 22-year-old guy is, if you just goad him and goad him and goad him, he's going to want to go to the mattresses. So I'm cool with this being a situation where you pick at a good guy too long, you bring out the bad side of him that you should not have forced out. Solorio mentions he's actually 21. Good Lord, this guy is even younger than Thea Hale.
I was going to say 21.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, theoretically I'm down with what you're saying, but when you poke at somebody that long, I think he looks weak if he's not losing his mind trying to really go at Ricky here. So that's a tough road to hoe, and maybe you can't please everybody, but I actually thought that it was fine that the young impetuous dude was trying to get his pound of flesh. So I was cool with what they did.
All I was going to say is I agree with you 100%. I think there's a time and a place for it. You don't want to be kind of overselling those moments like every week, but this is that time or place. I mean, Ricky cost him the championship potentially. He could even make the argument he potentially lost the opportunity to face Cody Rhodes. I mean, granted, he had the tag match at Saturday Night's Main Event, but he could still make that argument that maybe it was going to be champion versus champion. I don't know. Maybe it's a bit of a stretch, but he has a reason to be that upset. So I was totally fine with that too.
There were a few other backstage segments. Ethan Page annoyed Miles Bourne by talking at him, not really to him, early on, about how, hey, if you just listen to me, maybe you'd be in this spot with Obafemi now. Ren Sinclair and Kendall Gray jawed with Fatal Influence backstage, also leading to a match next week between Ren Sinclair and JC Jane. Ava was talking to Dark State. Dion Lennox made Joe Hendry appear. And Ava did something that I really dug here, is that she actually said, have you been in my room the whole time? So like actually calling out the silliness of the you appear when your name is said. Yeah, I actually thought I they genuinely do not write Ava's character very well, but I really thought that that was funny to give her that line. Um, and then there was a late scene with Kalani throwing out a threat to unseen women passing by Miles Bourne and Tavian Heights, who were talking, Hank and Tank. Unfortunately, bringing up that storyline last year that totally nerfed the tag division for like 6 months to a year. But whatever, they did. And Ryan Solorio said what I was thinking maybe I'd bring up. I don't know. Miles Bourne seems to be buying what Ethan is selling. It's true. And Miles Bourne looks like he could be a heel. How is it going to work? Miles Bourne's real life story makes him an underdog in a way that people are going to want to cheer for him. I think it's going to be tough to make Miles Bourne heel happen, but I've been wrong about people not being able to be heels so many times in wrestling that I should probably just back off and say Miles is going to be fine. But I just think, I mean, he's never been a heel, and that's probably why. I guess No Quarter Catch Crew was not like overly heelish, other than
Yeah,
Dempsey.
they leaned a little bit sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, they were mostly leaning. And Dempsey was the only one who was almost always actual heel. But yeah, Bourne never really got overly heelish. But they also kept him silent during that entire run. And there you go. And Ryan adds, Miles Bourne can be what Alba Fire is to Chelsea Green. LOL.
Ooh.
I think Miles can be a lot, but I also think Alba Fire can be a lot. And it just seems like they don't want to use all of the things that Alba Fire is, because Alba is she's on the short list of best female workers on the roster. She doesn't pop. She's not funny like Chelsea. She's not as charismatic as like an Ariana or like an Alexa Bliss, whoever. Just take your pick. But she is just dynamite in the ring, and it's too bad that like there's just not that thing about her that that people want to see happen. And theoretically, you could turn her face on Chelsea Green, but Chelsea Green is that problematic character who is a heel, who's good at being a heel, but is getting cheered because of the kind of heel she is and the fact that she's funny. So I don't know that you can turn Alba Fire or Piper Niven on her and have them be cheered, because it's just going to be Chelsea who gets cheered. So I think it's kind of a problem with no obvious solution.
Yeah. I like that idea of putting Miles Bourne with them, though. Like, obviously, there's a lot more that he can do, and it maybe feel. I don't know. Maybe it's. I was gonna say maybe it feels like a demotion, but you know what? To be part of that faction, and then obviously be on the main roster, that kind of is a promotion. So, and then you can always move on from that afterwards. But I doubt that's where they're going with him. I could see maybe them moving him kind of in a direction, if it's not with Ethan Page, maybe trying to move him heel. But I also agree with you. That was one of the first things I thought of is his real life story is, and I've talked about this plenty of times on the show. A lot of times people need that hero. They need somebody to get behind. I mean, heck, we could even bring John Cena's last match and up into it. The argument that a lot of people made for him not to lose, not to give up, and and whatnot. And not that I want to necessarily get into whether or not John Cena should have given up or not, but I don't know. It uh, yeah, I don't know. It could work. It could work. What was the other? And there was one other segment too. I forget what it was.
Ethan and Miles, Ren and Kendall Fatal Influence, Dark State and Hendry.
Other
Yeah.
with the two. Yeah, I really don't have a whole heck of a lot. I do want to go back now and see Ava, ask Joe Hendry if he's just been in the room this whole time, because I didn't catch that. I did not catch that. But yeah, other than that, nothing really sticks out.
Well, that, folks, I believe is our show. We do have a bunch of matches set for next week, which is great. And then we've got a whole bunch of stuff set for New Year's Evil, which is a show that I'm really actually looking forward to quite a bit.
Indeed.
So yeah, I think there's going to be some good stuff, and they promoted it pretty well tonight. The Saints and Javon's going to be good. I think the Slater and Femi is going to be off the charts. I think that's
I can't wait for
absolutely
that.
just going to be a dynamite match. Um, Not a ton of doubt in it, but I think it's going to be a great, great match, and I can't wait to see it. And I think that will be the next step in what is Javon Evans getting another shot at Obafemi. I think that's going to be a big step in that because of Evans and his ties to Slater. So everyone have a great holiday, whichever holiday it is. That's your jam. I have a longish drive to do tomorrow morning, so sleep seems like a not halfway terrible idea. Um, and yeah, gonna do the usual stuff, and hopefully my daughter, who got sick after I did, gets better because I don't know anybody who loves Christmas more than my daughter, and everybody kind of loves it. So anyway, that is that. I'm Kelly Wells. Everybody, be safe out there because the idiots will be on the road. Um, and that's all I got for you. So, Nate, who are you?
Nate Lindberg, check the things I do out at natelindberg.com. Happy holidays, and yeah, as Kelly said, be safe out there because it's crazy. Let's hope 2026 isn't nearly as crazy uh, as we move into the new year. So, horseshoe.
Cheers, everyone.